This is a video analysis of A Beautiful Mind by Ali O'Connor
and Amanda Stein.
A Beautiful Mind is a true story based on the biography of John Nash. John Nash was a mathematical genius who made an astonishing discovery early on in his career and stood on the brink of international acclaim. But through this journey, Nash found himself battling a truly painful self-discovery.
John Nash was schizophrenic. His supposed roommate Charles showed how the side effects of schizophrenia and how it developed. The first scene shows Charles throwing Nash's desk through the window. Cinematography showed the quality of the film was clear and advanced, most likely because this movie was filmed in 2001. 2 parts of mice and scene were captured in the scene. The lighting/costume showed the roommate was almost always portrayed as lighter part of Nash, whether in lighting or his clothing, because this put emphasis on the roommate, showing how different him and Nash were. The second was on acting. Charles was always confident and in charge, the center of attention, which adds to the story of how the voices affect Nash's life. This helped show how schizophrenia controlled his life.
The next part is on editing, which showed the graphic match that was just shown on the different dimensions shown of the desk falling from the room window. The next thing is eye line match, when the 2 men are looking over the desk, and then John and Charles are looking from the window down at the desk, and then it shows the desk falling and back to the window of what they're looking at.
The second scene is when we find out that Nash has schizophrenia and Charles was a made-up person in his head. The mice and scene of this scene is on the composition with how the roommate is tucked in the back corner. This is showing low-key lighting when he is the absolute darkest part in the room, while John Nash is the brightest. Upon this is when we find out that he is one of Nash's schizophrenic delusions. Nash on the floor shows the impact of his reality of Charles being a delusion due to Nash being on him hitting a low in his disorder, and roommate being tucked away and distressed about it.
The next biggest part of the scene was the sound. The main focus of it was the sound bridge when there was no background music until the roommate is seen in the dark corner. The background music starts slow, is depressing, and gets louder and louder as we begin to realize he's not real. When the psychologist says he's not real, it gets the loudest and stops when they stop showing him. This adds to the mood because this was a turning point in confirming that the roommate isn't real. This also added to how the roommate was such a big part of Nash's life and how Nash did not believe that he was not real and continued showing Nash with him even after he was told multiple times that he is not real. This proved even more how schizophrenia took over his life.
The third scene was the final scene where Nash gave his speech. This was a flash forward showing him winning the Nobel Prize years later in the background. Then the cinematography was especially present as well. People were always in the upper half and Nash was always super lit. Granted, he was on stage. The scene starts very wide, which was a crane shot, to show the audacity of the crowd that came to hear him speak. There was a close-up when they were very tight on everyone's face that were emotional and crying at Nash winning the Nobel Prize in his moving speech. This shows the support that Nash has and how the people around him are proud of him, and shows Nash finally figuring out how to manage his schizophrenia.
Then it goes into the focus where the 3-point lighting really showed the depth of the emotionally distraught facial expressions displayed by Nash. They always tightly filmed on the people that were crying about his speech to show that his life was really meaningful to individuals and to the science community from his teachings and the schizophrenia. This goes into the mise-en-scene/cinematography. The composition is when the roommate is in the back, which will be shown later when Nash is saying goodbye at the end of this speech. The roommate, which is his delusion, and the little girl, as well as another delusion, are shown in the back while Nash is walking away from his speech. This shows how he is moved on from his delusions. Even though they're still there, he does not acknowledge them. The depth of field is differed between the delusion and real life, showing how Nash's recovery and his growth is in not interacting with these delusions. As you can now see, the delusions are in the background of the clip. In conclusion, between the role of the roommate and use of cinematography, mise-en-scène, editing, and sound, the viewer can see how schizophrenia is developed and how Nash begins to handle his schizophrenia throughout the movie.